Okay, our next task is to learn how to make a mosaic image in Google Drawing. This is similar to the vector image we practiced previously, in that you're using a lot of flat shapes, but instead of layering them from back to front, from big to small, now I'm just going to fill a whole space, a whole image, in this case, this mug, with lots of little shapes that make up a mosaic-like image. So on your practice sheet, you're going to open up the Mosaic Practice Mug Mosaic. You'll see the picture of the mug that I'm going to have you mosaic and some directions. The first step is we're going to use the polyline tool. We're going to use the polyline tool to make small shapes on top of the mug, filling the mug space. You want to leave some space between each shape, just a little bit. They shouldn't touch. As you're making your shapes, you're going to fill the shape with a color that matches that part of the mug, and you're also going to get rid of the outlines. If you would like, you may use the curved line tool if you wanted to make some curved shapes up in these curved areas. There might be some areas where the polyline tool isn't the best choice. When you finish the whole mug shape, you're going to delete the photo, and then you'll fill in any missing spaces. So if you have any like awkward spaces, you can then fix it at the end. So the first thing we're going to do is zoom in. And I'm going to get you started on this because it will take a little while. I'm not going to video the entire process. I'm just going to show you how to get started, and then you'll have to be creative to finish this up. The first thing I'm going to do is go to my line tools and choose Polyline. I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to work my way across, and I'm going to start making shapes that fill up this mug shape. I'm going to start at the edge. And the smaller you make your shapes, the better. I'm going to make this a dark red, and I'm going to eliminate the outline. I could make that a little darker, or I'm going to have to make the middle of the mug a little bit lighter. So you want to match the color as much as you can. Now my next shape needs to be close, but not touching the previous shape. And since this area is kind of the same all the way down the mug, I'm just going to leave the same color. You could make all the same shapes. You could make an assortment of shapes. You could change your shapes. You could use triangles. You could use squares, rectangles. They can be kind of wonky shapes. It's up to you. As long as they fill the space. So let's say you feel like making some triangles next. You can make some triangles next. I'm going to need to pay attention to my colors as well. And I can also make a bunch of shapes the same color, and then at the end, go back in and edit. So you can always change the colors later on to reflect the colors of the mug or whatever it is that you're making. So I've got a couple of rows here. If I want to go back and make this a little bit darker, I can hit custom and it'll show me the color I currently have, and I could just go a little bit darker. And then if I select the next one, it'll have saved that last color. So I can just kind of go back and save my shadow red color. So it's an easy and pretty quick way to add some color. As I go across, I'm going to just keep adding shapes. This is all you do is you just keep adding shapes. So I'm going to start my next row here. Make that my red. Get rid of my outline. And keep it going. So this is going to be a little bit repetitive, but it's also pretty easy. Now, let's say you wanted to make some of your shapes with curved lines. If you would prefer, you could use the polyline and just make lots of little points. But if you wanted to use the curved line for, say, this shape here. I could do that. Transparent. And keep in mind, you can also go in and edit. Like this point went a little bit too low for me. So I could go in and edit that line by double clicking and selecting. So now I can go back and create a few other curved shapes. And that's the key. The only problem with the curved tool instead of the polyline tool is that you're going to end up with some areas where you'd like it to be straight and it's just not. So sometimes by stretching it out a little bit, you can get your shape a little bit better. But sometimes it just helps to do the polyline and maybe just make more shapes, because the smaller you make the shapes, the more finely detailed you can make your mosaic. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of a highlight here. I'm gonna make that lighter, and I'm gonna do another one here. More little shapes is sometimes easier than lots of big shapes. Okay, so you get the picture. You're just making a bunch of shapes and layering them on. Now, at a certain point, let's say you want to check. If I go ahead and click on the picture and hit delete, now I can see what my mug looks like. I can see what it's going to look like when I get rid of that picture. And it's starting to take form. I can see the curve of the upper part. I can see the dark spaces, the medium red spaces. And then I can just hit that undo button and get my picture back so I can continue. That's how you're going to make your mug, filling it with lots of shapes. You can play around with your shape building skills. And if you can practice this and get this mug down, that's going to make it a lot easier for when we do our project and we're doing something like this, where we're really filling lots of spaces with all sorts of little shapes. Or you might end up doing something like this and choosing the vector process that we used for the apple drawing. Either one's going to work. The mosaic or the apple, both are great processes. You're going to be choosing one to create an animal portrait. So that's all for today. Hopefully we can all make a great mosaic mug, and then we'll be ready to make our actual projects.